What up, though? What up, though? This is Mongo Slade, and we're going finally the weekend of the Royal Rumble. My favorite event next to WrestleMania is the Royal Rumble. It's probably 1 and 2. We're gonna do predictions today. So we're gonna use the match card that's posted by WWE. Who knows if this is going to change? It might. One thing for sure is when we do when we get to the Rumble matches, everybody who declares is not going to be in the match. And everybody who, there's surprises every year, and people are taken out of the match even though they declared to be in it. And there's 100 fucking guys to be in this match, and there's, not as many women. So I expect the women's Rumble to have a lot more surprises, but we'll get there. Let's start at the bottom. Let's start with Shorty G versus Sheamus, who's probably gonna be the pre-show match. I fully expect Sheamus to win this match. I don't see why Shorty G would win. I see why this match is happening. The story sucks. The name Shorty G sucks. Sheamus is cool. I've always liked Sheamus. I liked his new theme more than his original theme. I know a lot of people like the original Sheamus theme. I was never a fan of it. I do like the mixture of the current of the last Sheamus with the Mohawk with the Celtic Warrior Sheamus. I like the melding of those two. This story again sucks because Shorty G. I get why Sheamus doesn't like him, because I think Sheamus kind of represents everybody hating that he is accepting of the Shorty G thing, and that everybody should hate it because it's stupid. But it's good to give Shorty G or Chad Gable a one-on-one match to show what he can do against a top-level guy. We've seen him wrestle Kurt Angle and a bunch of other top-level guys. But this is a real spotlight because a lot of people are going to be watching this. And Sheamus, a lot of people are going to be interested in Sheamus' return and seeing how Sheamus looks when he returns. He hasn't wrestled a match yet. So I think this is going to be really good. It's a really good tune-up match for Sheamus. It's a really good showcase for Shorty G. Sheamus is going to just win, obviously, because there's no reason for Shorty G to win. I don't expect this feud to continue. I do think that Shorty G is just he's just stop number one. I think eventually we're going to get Sheamus again against Mustafa Ali. I think Mustafa Ali is going to be probably the next opponent for Sheamus. I don't think either one. I think Sheamus probably will end up in the Royal Rumble. I'm not sure Shorty G will be. The next match, Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo. I like both of these guys. I know a lot of people on the internet, they hate Humberto Carrillo because he's kind of a plain babyface. He didn't get much of a reaction on Raw when he returned. He never really gets that much of a reaction. He's really young. He's like early 20s. So, he has a lot of years to get better and to fill out and gain some weight. And Andrade is amazing. Like, he really, I expect Andrade to win this match, probably by cheating or disqualification or something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Humberto wins, because obviously Paul Heyman has a real hard on for Humberto Carrillo. He has really been pushing him and trying to get people to like him. I don't think giving him the title so quickly is the right thing to do. But so I'm going to stick with Andrade. I think Andrade is going to just win. I expect Andrade at least to be in the Royal Rumble, not really Humberto Carrillo. But I wouldn't be surprised if neither one of them was in it, because usually guys who wrestle twice at the Royal Rumble, but we'll see. Falls Count Anywhere, Roman Reigns versus King Corbin. I don't give a fuck who wins this match. I'm tired of these two fighting. They've been fighting since Survivor Series. I'm tired of this. Look, Roman Reigns is just going to win. Okay, he's going to win, and he hasn't beaten Baron Corbin yet. At least I don't think he has. They wrestled so many matches, it's hard to remember. But I think every one-on-one match they've had, Corbin has won. So I expect Corbin to lose this match. Hopefully this feud is over. But we all know they're going to wrestle again, some stupid-ass 6-man tag or some shit like that on SmackDown. Now we're going to get to something interesting. SmackDown Women's Championship. I'm surprised the word woman is here. But no, actually, no, I'm not, because it's WWE, it's not NXT. This could go a lot of different ways. From here on, it's really kind of a pick'em. This is what makes me really excited about the card. Bayley versus Sasha Banks is sort of the earmarked match for WrestleMania. Don't necessarily have a problem with that. I don't necessarily like it. because I think they've done Bayley and Sasha Banks a bunch of times already, especially in NXT. We could do something more and something different with Lacey Evans. I do expect Bayley to win this match. Bayley is going to win, but Lacey should win. And the reason why Lacey should win is because I think that we could have a stronger heel than Sasha Banks win the Royal Rumble. And I think I like the idea of I'm not gonna say who I want to win the Women's Royal Rumble right now, but Lacey Evans fits the mold of an opponent for that person better than Bayley. And I also don't really want to see Bayley and Sasha Banks wrestle. But some people are just so invested into these 4 horsewomen that it's just they can't be without the title or without the title picture. And the company needs something new. And I think Lacey Evans has had enough steam that she's gotten over to the point, which surprises the hell out of me that she's gotten over so well. And I don't think they expected it for her to get over so well. But I really think Lacey Evans should win the title. She should, but she's not going to win. Bayley's going to win. And I don't think Bayley has really connected with the audience the way that she should have as a heel. It doesn't come across as being real. I think when the surprise factor wore off, everybody kind of just like, okay. Now what's her character? Her character is nothing. Bayley just loses all the time. And WWE has decided to go the New Japan route with the championships where there's almost no title matches anymore. So everybody just kind of has the title and then they wrestle and then they just have belts. Like Shinsuke Nakamura hasn't defended the Intercontinental Championship in at least 2 months. Asuka and Kairi Sane, well, they were like the last title match, I think. Most of it, Becky Lynch hasn't defended the title in forever. The Fiend hasn't defended the title in forever. But, that's kind of the New Japan system where there's like 2 or 3 title matches a year. People complaining about it, but I mean, because you see these guys all the time, but they just haven't been really booking the champions to defend a lot. And which is really weird because the U.S. title has been defended quite often. And we just had the U.S. title match on Raw, and now we got another one tonight. At the Royal Rumble. So, but I'm off subject. I expect Bayley to win, but I would really prefer if Lacey Evans won. Becky Lynch versus Asuka. Same. Raw Women's Championship. Same deal. I would prefer Asuka winning. She's far more interesting right now than Becky Lynch. Becky losing is more interesting than Becky winning. Becky has been the champion since WrestleMania. It's boring. It makes everything predictable, but having told this story that Asuka is sort of her Lex Luthor, kind of the thorn in her side where she just can't get past Asuka. I like that. And I think that should continue. Asuka should win this match. And then we should do the reverse where Asuka has never really properly beaten Charlotte. And then maybe at Elimination Chamber, you could have Asuka versus Charlotte. And then have Asuka pin Charlotte. And then you could just tie that with a bow. And then at WrestleMania, you could do Asuka versus Becky Lynch again. Maybe Becky Lynch wins the Elimination Chamber, the Women's Elimination Chamber match. And she's Asuka's opponent for WrestleMania. And then Becky wins the title back. I think that would be dope. But I don't see that happen. I just think Becky's going to win. And that's just kind of how it is. They're going to write Asuka off, and they're going to probably, who knows what the fuck they're going to do with the women's tag team titles. I mean, the Iconics, since they lost the titles, they disappeared. I have no idea where they are. Bliss and Nikki Cross are really the only tag team on SmackDown. There are no tag teams at all on NXT in the women's division. They broke up the only team, was Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai. They broke them up. So there is really no tag team women's division other than Fire and Desire. And since Asuka and Kairi Sane are heels, you can't really, I don't know what you do with that. Do you do Dana Brooke and Lacey Evans? I really don't like Dana Brooke. Okay, so Becky Lynch is going to win. Asuka should win, but we know how it goes. Top star wins. The bigger star wins. Because they're probably going to want Becky to fight the Women's Royal Rumble winner. So The Fiend, strap match versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal I wouldn't be upset if Daniel Bryan won, and maybe this gimmick is to put the title on Daniel Bryan without pinning the Fiend. I don't really see the Fiend. I think Daniel Bryan versus the Men's Royal Rumble winner would be dope. Daniel Bryan is this generation's Bret Hart. If he can work with anybody, he can pull a good match out of anybody. He can do the entertainment stuff, and in some ways, he's better than Bret Hart because he can do the actual entertainment stuff, the silly Stanford stuff. Bret Hart wasn't really all that good with the silliness, and Daniel Bryan works with that. Daniel Bryan can work with anything that you give him, and I think that this match is going to be good because I think they have good chemistry. But I just don't think that Daniel Bryan is going to win. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did win, and I wouldn't be upset if he won. Simply because maybe they want to, but I think they really want the Fiend, which is a top merchandise seller going into WrestleMania, being the champion. So we're gonna go with the Fiend here. So the Women's Royal Rumble match, where there's not a lot of women introduced into the match. That means there's going to be a lot of NXT, probably quite a few surprises, which means they're probably going to bring back some women. I'm going to do who do I think is going to win? Now, who do I think is going to win? Ronda Rousey. Who probably should win? Shayna Baszler. The point of it is, I don't think Ronda Rousey is going to want to come back and do a whole year again. Nor do I think she's one that comes back just to lose to Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. Or just to beat Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. I think if she does come back, they're going to want Ronda there to have Becky chase her. And if it'll be a waste of the Rumble just for Ronda to win. And then she goes to WrestleMania and loses to Becky because she's not wrestling another year. But it's difficult, but I think that Ronda Rousey is going to win. But I think the superior choice, the vastly superior choice, is Shayna Baszler. She has what makes Ronda work in a very different package, in a lot tougher looking package. The problem with the women's division in the WWE is there's no dragons. There's no big bad that everybody needs to topple. Even Ronda Rousey really wasn't that. She was a babyface for most of her run. So she wasn't really the big bad of the division. Shayna Baszler is the Brock Lesnar of women's wrestling in WWE. You need somebody who can physically manhandle the other women, whose offense looks good, because a lot of the women, their offense looks like shit. A lot of them look like they're, trying too hard. There's a lot of, if you look at Shayna Baszler, she is so different from everybody else. She looks like a mixed martial artist. She looks like a fighter. And that meshes well with the Becky Lynch character. And that's how I look at things. I look at things not as what will be a great match, but a clash of characters. And this is where I also said that Lacey Evans would be a good opponent. Because you have an MMA fighter versus, I think Lacey Evans was a Marine. So if you could kind of bring out more of the edge of the Lacey Evans character, and you could have two tough women fighting for a championship, that would be dope. It'll also be dope if it was Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler, and I think that's what it's going to be. And I think that's the purpose of Shayna winning at Survivor Series, is that now she's going to win the Royal Rumble, and it's going to be Shayna, Becky at WrestleMania, and Shayna's probably going to lose, which is absolutely fucking stupid. Again, the women's division needs a dragon to slay. The reason why the NXT women's division is so strong is because Shayna took the title she took the title and disappeared with it. So now everybody is hyper competitive to fight Shayna. And then when Shayna did appear and did have her matches, people really, really wanted her to lose. So people were really invested in Shayna Baszler winning or losing a match. That matters. She doesn't need to be on TV every week. And I think they've already started the story, again, a Survivor Series of Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch. And I think that just continues here. So I think Shayna Baszler is going to win this match. What kind of surprises do I expect to see? I expect to see a lot of returns. I don't expect to see a lot of older women coming back. Maybe Michelle McCool. Maybe a Nikki Bella run in, or maybe Paige might do a run in. But I expect mostly Naomi coming back and Nia Jax returning, Tamina, Ruby Riott. I expect Ruby Riott to come back. But the thing about the Royal Rumble is it's a good opportunity to tell a lot of stories. And there's a lot of little stories in both Rumbles. So you had the Liv Morgan Alana story, which has been a big story on Raw. It could quite possibly be a big story in this match. The Mandy Rose, Otis, Sonya Deville story has been big on SmackDown. Maybe that story somehow fits into this match with Mandy Rose probably trying to get Otis to help her. But other than that, it's just going to be a lot of returns, a lot of women coming back from injury, them trying to figure out a way to make the division stronger, because Becky was complaining that the pool was very shallow, which I'm very critical of Becky Lynch, because it seems like every time she talks, she's complaining. But that's a legitimate criticism. There's not enough talent to have 2 women's divisions or 3. You really should just have 1 strong division, which is why I've always been a supporter of the women having their own show. But that'll never happen, because people will say, well, you got soggy knees and you want to segregate the women because you don't want to watch it, and if you put it on Raw and SmackDown and everybody has to watch it, but if you take it and put it somewhere else, you can pretend it doesn't happen and it doesn't exist, like 205 Live. And I think that saying that kind of proves that maybe people don't want to watch women's wrestling, but I think people do. I think people are interested in it now. I think people wanted the Evolution show back. I didn't really care about the first Evolution, but it was okay, but I didn't love it, didn't hate it. But I think that the women can carry a brand. And I think if you gave them 2 hours on like a Saturday night or a Tuesday or something like that, people will watch it. I believe that. But we're going to have 4 divisions because NXT UK. But I expect a lot of NXT UK women to be in here. So I expect a lot of dead fucking silence with like Isla Dawn comes out. And, Piper Niven's going to come out of there. And people aren't going to know who the fuck these people are. Because they've done... Kaylee Ray is wrestling at the Worlds Collide show. On the pre-show, by the way. The NXT UK Women's Champions wrestling on the pre-show, which shows how much they really care about what she's been doing. But you got to ask the question also, if these are equivalent titles, will Kaylee Ray be in this match? Will Kaylee Ray be in the Women's Royal Rumble match? Because if she's one of the world champions, the NXT UK world champion, let's say, then women's world champion. I'm going to be correct, even if WWE doesn't want to. Then she shouldn't be in this match. She shouldn't be in the Women's Royal Rumble. She should be one of the people who are a potential opponent. But I think that they're probably going to put her in this match. I just feel that Kaylee Ray is going to be in this match for no fucking reason. Maybe to set up a feud for NXT UK TV. But we shall see. And I really hope the women have a good match. The Battle Royal they had on NXT a couple of weeks ago was good. It was really good. And if Shayna Baszler doesn't win, my secondary choice, if not Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey is number 1. If not Ronda, then Shayna Baszler. I actually am leaning more towards Shayna being the winner, because I don't think Ronda's going to be in it. So, if no Ronda, Shayna. If no Shayna, I have no fucking idea. And that makes it a lot more exciting, because the next person who would be more interesting would probably be Io Shirai, who is all of 5'4" or 5'3", and having her win the Royal Rumble would be incredibly difficult, especially if, you got I guess it depends on what time she would come in and all that stuff. But I would love if Io Shirai won the Royal Rumble. But I expect her to be in the Final 4. And so that's what we'll talk about next. So, who do I expect to be the Final 4? I expect Io Shirai to be one of the Final 4. Toni Storm, Shayna Baszler, and Sasha Banks. I think those are the final four. If Sasha doesn't win, which is a really good chance that she would, maybe we could, I think that Shayna Baszler has to win to get her off NXT. That's my... Sasha Banks does not need to win the Royal Rumble to challenge Bayley. Okay, she can win the Elimination Chamber. She doesn't need to win the Royal Rumble because she and Bayley are on the same brand. Shayna Baszler, in order to fight Becky, has to get off NXT. And the only way for her to get off NXT is for her to win the Royal Rumble. So that's why I think Shayna Baszler is going to win if Ronda doesn't win. And so I got Shayna, Sasha, Io Shirai, and Toni Storm as the final four for the women. And I expect a good match. And I think this is going to be exciting because there's a lot of women in it. They're not going to have a problem meeting the 30 number, but a lot of it is going to be NXT UK women, and nobody has any idea who those women are because they're not really promoted. So expect a lot of dead fucking silence. This match might even go on first. They might even start the show with the Women's Royal Rumble, which would be fine with me. Okay, in the main event, the Men's Royal Rumble match with Brock Lesnar starting at number 1. Who comes in number 2? I think that it would have been a better story if somebody would have volunteered to come in at number 2. I like the idea of guys being ballsy. And to me, it came across as really cowardly that everybody said, "Oh, I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble." And nobody says, "Fuck this. I want Brock. I will fight Brock first. I will go in first. I will fight a fresh Brock Lesnar for 90 seconds." And I think that it would have been a lot of heat if you could have built somebody as being the guy that all he has to do is throw Brock Lesnar over the top rope. He doesn't have to pin him. So I think it would have been great for like Drew McIntyre to say, Brock wants to be number 1. Okay, I'll be number 2. Or Aleister Black, who is a guy who likes to fight, and that's his gimmick is, So I think that would have been great for one of these tough guys to just say, well, or Samoa Joe or somebody like that to just be like, I'm number 2. I'm willing to go in number 2. And, scuffle with Brock for a minute. But since nobody did, I think number 2 is probably going to be somebody Brock can throw out relatively easily. It's probably going to be like a job guy. It might be like No Way Jose or some stupid shit like that. Hopefully it's not like a higher mid-card guy like a Ricochet, which it might be because Ricochet and Brock had a thing on Raw. So maybe Ricochet is going to be number 2, and we're going to get 90 seconds of Ricochet and Brock, or just Brock manhandling Ricochet for 90 seconds before Ricochet gets thrown out, which is a really bad usage of Ricochet. Even though it's a short, even though it's a spotlight, it's not a very good one. Just getting manhandled by Brock in a match where you don't have to get pinned, you just got to get thrown over the top rope, it's not really good. Like, those matches where Brock kind of dominates a guy are better because the guy has an opportunity to fight back. And these really this short amount of time, this 90 seconds, there might be some escapes where, Ricochet is doing nice things to bounce around Brock and keep away from him for a minute. But ultimately, once Brock gets his hands on him, Ricochet is going out. But who do I think is going to win the match? I think Drew McIntyre is going to win. I don't think Brock lasts till the end. I think Brock gets eliminated probably by Cain Velasquez, who a lot of people think that is going to win the match, or Roman Reigns, or somebody like that. I don't think that Drew McIntyre... I think Drew McIntyre just needs to be his year. I don't think Roman needs to win. Roman versus The Fiend, they own the same brand. So if you want to have Roman fight The Fiend, just do the Elimination Chamber. Have Roman win the Elimination Chamber. He's going to fight The Fiend. If that's your idea of... it's going to be Roman versus The Fiend at WrestleMania. If that's what you believe, then Roman doesn't have to win this match. But Drew McIntyre needs it. This needs to be his year. If Drew McIntyre doesn't win the title this year, it probably never happened. He never had more momentum than he has now. They've been going on about this prophecy, this destiny thing for a long time. It's a lot of pressure. And I think Brock is the right opponent for Drew McIntyre. If he's going to become the next big thing, he has to beat what was the next big thing before him. Because the storyline, if my memory is correct, Brock was the next big thing. Then Brock left. And then shortly after Brock left, Vince said that Drew McIntyre was the guy. And Drew McIntyre faltered and he disappeared for a really long time. So I think that's a really great story that two kind of hand-picked Vince McMahon guys are going to wrestle for the title at WrestleMania, which is the way it should be. Two big marketable guys fighting for the title at WrestleMania. That works for me. Who do I think is going to be if Drew McIntyre doesn't win, who do I think is going to win? I hope it's not Cain Velasquez, and I hope it's not Roman Reigns. I will only be angry if it's Cain Velasquez or Roman Reigns. Cain Velasquez because, look, I'm not a person that hates Cain Velasquez. I'm also not a person that really likes him. There's a lot of people on the internet that were riding his coattails. Let's not be vulgar. They were riding his coattails when he was in AAA doing hurricanranas with a mask on. They were like, "Oh my God, he was so great," because they thought he was going to AEW. So it was Cain Velasquez is so great. He can do a hurricanrana. That's so awesome. And then he went to WWE and oh, Cain Velasquez sucks. He's boring. He's just an MMA fighter. Which why would you present him as anything else? Like you can do the blended MMA fighter luchador thing. You can blend that if you really wanted to. And then they really didn't give Cain a lot of time in Saudi Arabia. They kind of got him out of there real quick. But that was a long time ago. Maybe he's had time to learn and do better. But I don't want that because I want Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. I don't really need Cain Velasquez versus Brock Lesnar again. And if Brock is going to fight Cain Velasquez, they don't need the title. Brock Lesnar doesn't need the belt to be an attraction. So, and Roman Reigns doesn't need to win this match. I mean, he's just so cemented as being the big dog that he doesn't really need to win these big matches anymore. But this match also has a lot of big stories in it. You got the Randy Orton, AJ Styles story, the Rusev and Lashley story, the New Day versus Miz and Morrison, that story. You got a lot of little, Shinsuke Nakamura, Cesaro, and Braun Strowman. You got that story. You got a lot of little stories, and there's no overarching story of the Royal Rumble this year. There's a lot of little stories, and that works too, because that means there's going to be a lot of things spinning out of this. There is a lot. It's a stew, rather than a soup. So you got a lot of some meat, some vegetables, but I definitely think that at the end of the day, Drew McIntyre is going to win the Royal Rumble and go on to face Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. But they could throw us a curveball because there is Elimination Chamber. So maybe Brock loses the Royal Rumble and is forced to defend the title in the Elimination Chamber. So if that happens, which I would absolutely love, because it's another... WWE is doing a really good job of putting Brock in positions where Brock can demolish either much smaller competitors or numerous competitors at one time. So this is going to be Brock as a bowling ball, rumbling through everybody for the first 10 minutes of the Royal Rumble match. That's fine. And they could do it again at the Elimination Chamber while Brock says, hey, all right, I didn't win the Rumble. I'm going to fight Drew McIntyre or whatever. And then you could throw a curveball and say, oh, Brock's going to defend the title in the Elimination Chamber. And this time Brock has to get pinned or submitted in order to get out of the match. And then you could just have Brock basically destroy everybody in the Elimination Chamber. And it's Brock McIntyre at WrestleMania. Or you could take the title off Brock. That would be a good time to take the title off of him in an Elimination Chamber match where he doesn't really get hurt in the process because he has to fight 5 guys. But it's all very interesting. I love the Royal Rumble. I expect this show to be really good. Worlds Collide is the day before, which is technically tonight. And I just expect NXT to win every match. I don't expect Imperium to beat Undisputed Era. Rhea Ripley's not losing the title. You know, I don't expect Ilya Dragunov to beat Finn Balor. Like, it's nothing. They was better off doing a takeover. But I'm going to watch it. It's probably going to be a fun show because I really want to see DIY versus Mustache Mountain, which might be the only match. Actually, because Tommaso Ciampa is wrestling for the title later. Maybe they'll just win. NXT would just win all the matches. You know, they'll just win every match that matters. But I expect that to be a good show too. But this has been my Royal Rumble prediction show. Again, my predictions are Sheamus, Andrade, Roman Reigns, Bayley, Becky Lynch, The Fiend, Shayna Baszler, and Drew McIntyre. So feel free to drop your predictions in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe. Feel free to disagree.